check and see how crazy my hair is. It's not too bad. It's been worse. Okay. In this video, I'm going to talk about this. This is the toilet. When I moved in here, well, I haven't moved in here yet, but when I bought the place, this thing was in terrible shape. And it's in really good shape now. It's functioning perfectly. And it's, you know, obviously a necessity for even just being in a house for a long time. In this video, I'm going to go over how I took this toilet from being non-functional to functioning, and then cleaning it and getting it so it's, you know, not disgusting, and so that it functions properly. At first, you know, had to get a new furnace put in the house. So once the furnace was put in, okay, get the water going. Got the water going and saw that there was not too much terribly wrong with this toilet. And I played around with the parts and got them functioning, and so that it worked, okay. But the parts were old. It was just chock full of minerals and corrosion. So I knew it wouldn't function for long. So I purchased a kit from Fluid Master. They make a fantastic kit that has everything you need to fix just about any toilet. Any toilet with a tall tank. If you've got one of those tanks with the, it's like a low toilet with a very short cistern. My boss told me the way you repair those is you yank them out and throw them in a dumpster and purchase a toilet with a normal tank. The parts for those low-rise toilets are extremely expensive, and they're very specific. And they're terrible. They're just terrible. Anyway, fixing a standard toilet is inexpensive, and it's pretty easy. I'm going to say several times throughout this video, the most important part of a toilet or any plumbing fixture is the shut-off valve down here. That's the first thing, and it's something that homeowners overlook. And it's something that should be maintained and inspected, 2 to 4 times a year. And that's just simply going over and shutting it off, flushing the toilet, and making sure it's shut off completely, that no water is coming through. And then you open it back up, and if that valve is functioning properly, it's super easy. When that valve is not functioning properly, it becomes an issue. You have to shut the water off to the whole house. And if that ever happens and you're having somebody work on a toilet in your house and they say, oh, I need to shut the water off, make absolutely sure that they change that valve too. And if they're like, oh, it's sweated on, and oh, it's compression, and oh, make them change it. Because if, and I've seen fill valves pop and start spraying water all over the place, and being able to shut that water off can save thousands of dollars in damages. So you want to make sure that that valve works. And so grab the camera and show you how nice this thing looks now. All nice and clean. Look at that. You can hardly tell there's water in there. It's so clean. Be prepared to be grossed out by the next part of this video. Just warning you. Well, I've wanted to do a video of repairing a very poor condition toilet, and I think this is a great one. This is actually in my house. And it has been shut off and not run for quite some time. Not sure exactly how long, but it is in very bad shape. And believe it or not, it actually functions just fine right now. But I'm going to treat this like, yeah, look at all of that right there, how corroded and full of minerals it is. But most people would see a toilet in this kind of shape and say, yep, rip it out, it's garbage. But it's actually not very hard and not very expensive to repair. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I cleaned up the bowl some. I used some bleach cleaner, then I rinsed it really well, then I used some Barkeeper's Friend because that has some acid in it that helps get some of the minerals out. Never want to mix the two, that's why you do the big rinse between using bleach and acidic stuff. Let's see, I'm thinking this is a 1/2-inch bolt. So what I'm going to do right now is, oh, there we go. Get this whole thing taken apart. It looks like I need a 9/16 socket. I've got one right here. The most important part of any plumbing fixture is a shutoff. And that's the first thing you need to check is before you do anything with a faucet or a toilet or pretty much anything, is make sure you can shut the water off. It's just the most important thing. If you have problems, that's the first thing. You shut the water off, no problem. You can take your time fixing it. If the shutoff doesn't work, then you've got big problems. So a lot of times these nuts are rusted. Looks like I need a deep well, so let's see if I can find one. I've had to get in behind the toilet and cut these off with a hacksaw, and it takes forever. These feel like they're turning okay. Maybe not. Maybe they're just spinning. That came right off. On this type of toilet, there's 3 bolts. Holding the tank, the basin. I don't know if that's the right term for the bottom of the toilet. Cistern. That's 2 off. Oh, but the first one over there that I tried was, the bolt was just spinning, but let's give it another try. Yeah, it's just spinning. That's There's so much minerals and stuff down here, I cannot see what I'm doing. Better replace this anyway, so I'm just going to take it and get it out of the way. Oh, I think I got it. Did I? Or let's do it again. I think it just spun. Yeah, this isn't working. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I don't have my great big flat tip screwdriver with me, so I broke out my Old Faithful 1/4-inch ratchet with the biggest flat tip blade, bit that I have. This is one of my favorite tools, and I have used it so much for things just like this. The great thing about a ratchet with a screwdriver bit is that it's very easy to push with a lot of force down and get a lot of torque. Great tool to have. Anyway, I probably should have taken the supply line off first, but I've got the water turned off. I'm not going to save this supply line, so I'm just going to use channel locks to pull it off. That's on PEX, which I'm not a big fan of. Mainly because I just haven't used it very much. The PEX isn't secured very well to the wall. Okay, now the cistern is free, and I can go about cleaning all of that gook out of there. That's just deposits from years and years of bad water. They don't have they must not have a proper filtration system, and it just builds up over time. Okay. Okay, trying to get this fill valve off. The threads are so bunged up that it doesn't want to come off, so just normal little pair of side cutters. It's all plastic. There it is. Oh, yicky parts. Now it's time for some cleaning. Okay, that is looking a lot better, a whole lot better. Okay, I've got everything cleaned. There's still some rust stains in there. Inside the tank, I'm not too concerned about this, staining. Just mainly getting all of the mineral deposits, and this is the stuff I'm going to put in. It's a complete kit from Fluid Master. Pretty much every single part of a toilet is in this kit, and I bought a new flexible hose. These things are great in comparison with the rigid ones, which can be difficult to say the least. These are so nice because you can twist them around and get them to work. If you're buying these, make sure if you're working on a toilet, you get the ones for a toilet, because that's the only thing they will fit and nothing else will fit them. So it's time to put the new parts in the tank. New fill valve, new flush valve, really nice rubber gasket. Oh, this should work really well. Yeah, it fits nicely. All right, okay. Now, this is a completely different style of flush valve than was on the toilet, so I'm not sure about the orientation of this to where the flush handle is going to be. So I might have to do some fiddling around to get it to work. This stuff, it really does go together this quickly. It's just... Now, they have a nice tool that comes with it. You don't need to crank any of this stuff down. If you're working on a piece like this and you don't have the tool, or if it's like this thing where a tool like this doesn't work, giant channel locks. Got these from a buddy of mine. They were in his dad's tool collection. Thanks, Chris. Love these things. Let's see. These are, you know, it's plastic pipe, plastic nut. None of this stuff needs to be cranked down. And if you crank it down, if you try to crank it down really hard, it'll break. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to rotate this that way. Like I said, this is a completely different style, so all of these things may need a lot of finagling to get them to function properly, and I needed to at least be out of the way of the bolts. That's pretty much it. They even include a nice little tool for tightening up this thing. Okay, I'm going to pop that washer on. If you're working with one of these, mainly focus on being careful. You know, I've got a concrete floor right here. If I drop this even an inch, it's toast. And then the whole toilet's toast because you can't really get just this part. Anyway, I'm going to fiddle with this for a little bit and see what orientation everything needs to go in. Got a new flush handle, and I'm going to take some stills of each little step to better illustrate what I'm talking about here. Okay, I'm going to take some time to talk about what I did. I'm going to insert some stills to just try to better illustrate the different steps required to repair a toilet like this. As I said, and we'll say over and over again, the shutoff valve is the most important thing. Normally, even though this shutoff valve works, I would put a new one on, but this whole area needs to be remodeled, and I need to redo this PEX line feeding it. So since this valve is working fine, I'm just going to leave it be for now. And when I redo the plumbing for this area, I'll definitely put a new valve in. So first step, shut the water off. Make sure the water is shut off. Turn the valve all the way in. That would be clockwise till it stops. Flush the toilet, make sure no water is coming in. Any flooring that would be damaged by water, you need to make sure that it's protected. Get some towels out, because you're going to spill some water out of the tank no matter how hard you try to get all the water out of there. Even if you take a wet vac and suck it all out, you'll get some water on the floor. So get yourself some towels. Removing the bolts that hold this piece to this piece can be extremely difficult. Older ones, if they're made out of steel, they're going to be corroded. If you're lucky, they'll break when you try to turn them. If you're not lucky, no matter what you do, they will spin. If you can get somebody to help you, they're normally a large flat tip screwdriver. If you don't own a very, very large flat tip screwdriver, save yourself some headaches, go buy one. Long handle, fat blade. If you can get somebody else to hold that while you're down here with a ratchet and a socket that fits snugly on the nut, don't try to use an adjustable on these ever. You'll drive yourself insane and you'll round them off and make things worse. If you can get somebody else to hold it up top while you're removing the bolts that hold this to this, that can be very helpful. Once you get the water shut off and the supply disconnected and the 2 or 3, and I've seen one time where it's 4 bolts that hold the cistern to the bowl, you're good to go. Everything else, it may be stuck on, you may have hard times removing the bits, but once you get all the bits out, you're fine. When you have the tank removed, try to get yourself some more towels to set the lid and the tank on. If you drop it on tile, you can break your tile, you can break the tank, then more of an expense, you're probably just gonna have to run out and buy a new toilet. Okay, so you get all the old parts out, clean, 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 then clean it again. Get all of the chunky minerals that have built up in there over the years out. A lot of times you can just scrape them out. An acidic cleaner such as Barkeeper's Friend, really helpful for getting those minerals out. Once you get the tank clean, start putting your parts back in. If you're using the Fluid Master parts, or most toilet parts are plastic pipe and plastic nuts, they do not need to be cranked down. It's hand tight and then maybe a quarter to a half turn after that, just not cranked down. And if you put a big wrench on it and crank that stuff down, you're gonna break something. Once you get all the new parts in and get them oriented, like in this one, as I said in the video, it's a completely different style of flush valve, and the handle's different. Wasn't exactly sure how to line up the handle and the flapper valve. Be prepared for getting that all together and realizing that you're going to have to rotate the flush valve. If you have to rotate the flush valve, you're going to have to take the tank off again. So it's more work. Try not to let yourself get frustrated. I'm one to talk. Stuff like that just makes me so angry when I realize I have to repeat steps. Okay, so you've got all your new parts in, you've got your orientation as good as you can get it. Putting the cistern back onto the bowl. Snug those nuts up by hand, but keep them even. Even just by hand, if you put one bolt all the way on, you're going to cock the tank and then you're going to be pulling it and you can break things. So just keep it even the whole time, get them all snug down evenly, then start taking your wrench, tighten, 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 move around and tighten everything evenly until it gets nice and snug. Now that's one of the few parts on a toilet that do need to be relatively tight, but just watch as the tank goes down, and when it's seated, it's seated. It's going to be fine. Connecting the supply line. The flexible hose that I bought, there are ones that are made for toilets. They work on toilets. They don't work on anything else. There's nothing else that will work on a toilet. It's a 1/2 inch size. So you can see ones that are made for a sink and think, oh, this is the size I need. But it will say on the little tag, which I have torn off and probably thrown away, toilet. Make sure you get those. Quick funny story. I was managing a hardware store, and I told all of my cashiers, if anybody ever comes up with 2 toilet supply lines, just politely ask them if they are putting in 2 toilets. Because normally when you buy 2 lines, you're putting in lines for a sink, a hot and a cold, and the toilet ones won't work that way. And we saved many homeowners headaches by sending them back to get the correct size that they need and getting them from the other rack, not the toilet rack. Well, one time a guy and his buddy came up, and I was working the register, and I asked him, are you going to be putting in 2 toilets today? And he angrily looked at me and said, I've been doing this for 35 years, don't try to tell me what to do. I'm sorry, sir, trying to be helpful. This is something that we, just trying to be helpful. So, a couple hours, here he comes. And his buddy is just laughing because the guy was putting in a faucet and didn't want to listen to me. And turn these. And he was buying 2 for a sink. And I went, I didn't say anything. Return, some stuff. So if you are buying a supply line for a toilet, make sure it says on the little tag, toilet. If you're getting for a sink, don't buy the ones for the toilet, they won't work. They do not need to be tight. Basically, hand tight. I've got pretty strong hands. You may need to take a channel lock and give it a snug, but no, like I said, hand tight and then no more than a half turn more, because it's plastic on plastic. If you crank it down, you'll break it. Then testing it. Make sure that your flapper valve stays open long enough for it to flush. Make sure the chain doesn't get caught up on anything. It may be a frustrating process of lengthening and shortening the chain, and then you may have a piece of chain dangling down that you got to get in there with wire cutters and cut off. Be patient, take your time with that, get it just right so that it flushes and flops back down and you have no issues. I don't think there's anything else I need to go over with this. It's such a simple process. The most time-consuming part of working on this toilet was cleaning everything. And I first used a bleach cleaner on both the bowl and the tank. Then I rinsed that very thoroughly to get all of the bleach out of it. And then I used that acidic barkeeper's friend to get a lot of the mineral buildup out of it. And as you can see, it's nice and clean, and I wouldn't be embarrassed for anybody to come down here and poop on my toilet.